Okay guys, so we are going to learn how to draw a piece of pie using very simple shapes. We'll be starting with this triangular shape on the top, this rectangular shape here, some parallel lines, some scallop lines, an oval, horizon lines, and the rest is going to be up to you. So of course, I'm going to be making a piece of pumpkin pie because I'm sure you have some left over at home from the holidays. And if not, that's okay. You can make it any kind of pie you want, but I'm going to go through the pumpkin pie steps. So I want my pie to be the star of this piece, at least a slice of pie. So I'm going to take a line that fills sort of pretty much the center of my paper. I might even make it a little longer. And so I'm using that horizontal line there. And then I'm going to go up on an angle, and then I'm going to use a rounded edge because we know that pies are round. So I'm going to take a line here, vertical and vertical, and I'm going to draw a line across. So now I have my rectangular shape here, and now I'm going to get ready for the crust. So I'm going to go along the bottom. Depends how thick you want your crust. And it's going to be a parallel line like that. It's imitating the shape, and instead of making it flat on the edges, pumpkin pie, apple pie, many pies have this sort of scalloped edge like that. So pretty easy to get the shape down. So it's that triangular shape, rounded edge, rectangle, parallel line, scalloped. So for that dollop of whipped cream, I'm just going to make a spiral that comes around and joins itself. You can add more whipped cream if you want. You can make it more like a teardrop shape if you like, whatever you like. So I want it to look like it's resting on a plate, which we know is round, but because we're looking at it from a side view, we're going to make it more of an oval. You can definitely make a rim, and I might want to show one side of the rim, but not the other in terms of the side of the plate. So I might run my line next to it, and then kind of fade, kind of like that. You can also make a rim inside your plate if you like. You can do anything you want. There's my inside rim, and I'm going to just do that to give me a variety of color. And then I'm going to put it on a table or my horizon line like that. So now you'll notice in mine, I kind of like to hurry the process along sometimes, so I use the watercolor to create the blue background. I use some brown for my table, some yellow for my plate, just to quickly lay out that background. So you can do it any color you want. I'll change it up. Since I did blue before, I'll do purple here, kind of using the flat side of my brush to make it go quickly. Now, when I do this, I'm going to want to leave time to dry before I blend colors on top of it. And so I'm going to show you how I use the oil pastels on top of it. When you look at the slideshow, you're going to see samples of the artist Wayne Thiebaud, whose 100th birthday we celebrated last week. And we are going to just notice how he creates shadows. His shadows are just as nice as the actual drawing. He kind of gets that pastel. He doesn't just make it a black shadow. He kind of makes all these beautiful colors, like a rainbow of colors for it. So you see I just laid down a quick background. That for me gives me a nice base besides white paper. So I'm going to do my table. This time I may do green just to change it up. And so I'm going to go around, flat side of your brush, pull it like this. You're going to get that background done very quickly, which is not always what we're going for in terms of our goals, but it definitely helps to kind of, for me, give me time to let that dry and then focus on the pie and the plate, and then go back later and add whatever it is I want on top. I'll show you my finished one in just a sec. So I have all of that. I'm going to stick with that yellow plate for now because I know my pie is going to be pumpkin colored, which would be the oranges, and that'll be a nice, it'll work well together. Analogous colors, they work well together. Complementary colors work well together, so purple and yellow work well together, green and red, blue and orange. So I'm going to do it like that. I might just add a little orange to the rim. Make it a little bit interesting. You can't really see it, but that's okay, because when I go over it later, you will be able to see where I get some different colors in there. So I just want to kind of put my focus on my pie here. Okay, so now it has time to dry while I'm working. So let's take a look at what I did here. So I painted the background, and then I just used some oil pastel to create a little light and dark, so you can see blue along here. I even added a little bit of a blue shadow, something Wayne Thiebaud uses a lot in his pictures. I kind of went around the edges and just made it a little bit darker to give it some interest, make it look a little bit like light and dark on there. I outlined in black. I even included black shadowing. You're going to notice that the light is hitting more of the top, so it's going to be lighter than the side. So I might go in and make this just a little bit darker, but you can see I used orange and I blended it with a tan, and then I used darker brown along the edges, black along here. And I was trying out that idea of interesting colors for the shadowing along the edge. So you see that purple and that green. And here, for that white dollop of whipped cream, I just added a little gray and black to give it a little shadow there. Okay, so what I would do, let's say I'm working on the side, I said I would go darker, so I probably would just color it first, give one layer of darker orange along there. There we go. And the top would probably be a lighter shade. I'm just going to press a little bit harder because I saw that on my last one it was a little bit too light. There wasn't a lot of difference in the value of the colors, which means you usually like that light dark contrast. It works really nicely. And so you see more on the top, more of that lighter orange. I'm going to go a little light with this, and then I have, oops, I gotta be careful. It's lighter, and I might even mix a little of this color here, would be a good blending color, and the orange. So I'm going to go on the top, and see how the color values are not that different. So I probably want to go in and make it just a little bit darker on the bottom. Let me try a little bit of the, is that the dark orange I used? Yep. Maybe a little darker along here. Pressing a little harder still. With oil pastel you can layer, so you can always figure it out as you go along. I definitely wanted to do it darker toward the edges, so I'm going to go first lightly with the brown. I don't want it to overwhelm. I'm going to give it a chance to work. A little darker toward the edges here. Try not to go up and down too much because that makes it a little bit visually disturbing. And so you can see I'm getting a little bit darker toward the edges. Don't worry so much if you go over it a little bit over the line. You can always go back and finish that. I'm going to go darker up here, blend it out a little bit so it doesn't look too stripy. Blend it out a little bit so it doesn't look too stripy, and probably I might use this as a good blending color. Gonna press a little harder still because it's in that same color family. All right, so I'm going to use my tan from my crest here. And I just keep layering. This probably like this. I know some people stop right about here and they think that's enough, but you can already see how much white of the paper you see through there. That should not be the look you're going for. You want it to be a little darker, a little thicker, and I'd really like it for you to try the blending. The blending. You can go along the edges up here, more shadow, and then use a blending color. I could use that same color I used before for blending And you'll notice now when I'm going over it, it's doing a really nice job of filling those little white spaces. All right, so let's not do this, let's do more like this. And so you can see that as I went on, I added even little air pockets because I like my pumpkin pie kind of fluffy. I went around and I did a darker edge. You can decide if that's something you want to do. Come out different each time. This is basically from this angle. You could also show it more of a portrait view from the front. Add some shadowing behind it. Haven't gotten to that yet, but I will continue to work on this. So I look forward to seeing your work, boys and girls.